Welcome to the Psychology Club podcast, brought to you by Vicente Martinez High School.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Psychology Club podcast. Today is going to be our most metal episode ever because we have drummer turned vocalist Davey Muse. Let's give him a warm welcome.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Let's go around the table and give names. I'm Nick,
I'm Dave Chappelle.
also known as Chris.
I'm Amanda.
I'm Alex.
I'm Susanna.
And I'm Davey.
Yeah. All right. So let's just start off with who wants to ask a question? You want to ask a question?
Davey, I'd like to ask you,
Hit
how
me.
have tattoos helped your mental health?
That's a really good question.
Or have they?
They have, actually. I think for a lot of people, especially a little bit, I'm 35, so a little bit older, and tattoo culture has come a long way. But I think for a lot of us that were getting tattooed then, it was like a form of expression, right? Just like anything else. It is a form of a way to express yourself. And I'm not a very artistically inclined person in that way. So meeting people through the band, they'd want to tattoo you, like art influences art, right? And then you'd have these conversations with these, tattooers about their lives and my life. And we would kind of talk and they'd be like, why are you getting this tattoo? And most of my tattoos have reasons behind them. A lot of them just look dope, and I was just like, oh, this is a really great thing that I want this artist to do. But a lot of times, they're about part of my journey, and it's good to be able to look at a tattoo because instead of getting a postcard or buying souvenirs, which I couldn't afford on tour ever, these tattooers would sit down and tattoo us because they wanted to, because our music influenced their, and I saw this big, cool, ring of influence, and I'd get a tattoo and I could tell you each tattoo, where I got it, what I was doing, and kind of the memories tied to it. So I kind of get them as tokens of memories of places that I've been. And when I'm going through hard times, there's I can't even count the amount of times where I'm going through something tough or hard, and I'll close my eyes and I'll look at a tattoo and I'll close my eyes and think about okay, I got this tattoo when I was in Prague in 2014, and how'd that feel, and how amazing it felt to step on European soil and play a show and have kids that don't speak English sing your words to you. And then all of a sudden I'm in this memory, going back, and I started looking at all my tattoos and I kind of forgot about what I was upset about. Or hey, I know things are bad right now, but they were good, they're gonna get better, you know what I mean? So it's just a constant reminder of the journey that I've gone through, and I can just look at it every single day.
If you're ever in a bad state of mind, do you ever go get a tattoo?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah. So I have some friends. I have a bunch of friends who are tattooers, and sometimes I've been going through it really badly, and sometimes it's a good way to commemorate the time that you went through by getting it, capping off that time with a tattoo.
Yeah.
And I realize that some people just get tattoos because they're cool and they just want to look cool. But for me, it's definitely all tied to my memories and all tied to things that made me become better. So it's cool that I get to look at it every day,
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we know that you were on tour. So what kind of tolls does touring take on mental health?
It's a really good question that no one ever actually really asks. And I think that people that are touring now are starting to speak up about it. I think there's this weird stigma of you're getting to do this cool thing that not a lot of people get to do. So right away people go, well, you chose this, you chose this life. So you chose to miss your friends and family. You chose to put all of your, things in your life on a shelf, and you chose to be broke or whatever. And in a sense we did choose this, but in another sense we didn't. This is what we have to do for our lives. Just like someone that, needs to go to school to become a doctor or psychologist or whatever. This is something that we need to do with our lives. So this is the only path for my life that's going to ever make sense for me to live. So you put your everything into it, and a lot of times your mental health is secondary to getting into a van and making sure that you go to your show, you're performing, you're selling your merchandise, you're answering to management, you're answering to agents, you're answering to labels, all that put money and time into what you're doing, and that pressure there to perform is it can really build up to a point where if you don't have people in your band that you can be bro, I feel crazy, or I miss my mom, I miss my wife, I miss my dog. If you don't have people and outlets that you can kind of connect with, you can drive yourself crazy and internalize everything. And there was a long period of time where I didn't speak to my band about the problems that I was having. I mean, especially I joined Vanna already dealing with all these mental health problems, and not really I've never really didn't really deal with them. I was in therapy when I was younger, but I wasn't for a long time. And then I just jumped in this band, thrown into like being in front of hundreds and thousands of people every single night and expecting to be like an example of like, what's up? Like, you like my band. I'm a good person. And it just was so hard for me. And I internalized a lot. And, you know, I didn't have my wife on tour all the time, hardly ever. You know, trying to talk to people on the phone, your friends kind of like sometimes forget it, but out of sight, out of mind sort of thing. You miss out on a lot. So you start like internalizing all of these things and it can really be taxing. The really cool part about touring though, and how it's affecting my mental health in a positive way is that you're part of a community of people that are going through the exact same stuff you are. You're all together. You're all in the same boat. And if you can realize that you're not alone in that. You know, we have, you know, on tour, we get together and sit in a van and all the bands would sit in someone's van or sit in someone's bus. And just having that fellowship with people just like you really helps. Oh, you also miss your wife. Okay, cool. Like, we're in this together. You also miss your dog. You also are kind of struggling with like this family issue and you're on the road and you're so far away. So it's taxing, but if you find the right community and the right kind of people and obviously the right band, like people to be in a band with, and you're open and talk, it actually can really be positive for your mental health. It's just all about how you swing it. You know, it's all about how you approach it. And for me, it was negative for a really long time, and then it kind of turned into something positive. So, yeah.
Can I ask you another question about that? So, you know how this is a stereotype I have in my head. I mean, all the bands I listen to, they sing about drugs. Everyone sings about addiction.
Mhm.
A lot of music is about drugs. So do you think that the pressure of being on tour and having to perform all the time, is that the reason why they're so like heavily influenced by drugs?
It's coping mechanisms. So all of us that get on that stage, just like any of you that pick up guitar or do podcasts or in this podcast club, you all go through like all sorts of problems, right? I think that people tend to forget when like someone's singing about like I don't know, like any like Post Malone, I fall apart down to my core. Like, this guy has gone through some stuff that everyone can relate to, but no one thinks about. Well, he's a rock star, so he's not going through that. The problem is that a lot of times, like, this is why we lost people like Chester from Linkin Park, because, and if you go back and listen to Linkin Park now, it's so sad because he's literally crying for help, and everyone thinks that he's just
It's just a
entertaining
good
us.
song.
It's just a good song. You're vibing out in the summertime listening to that new Linkin Park song. Meanwhile, this
Yeah.
dude's dying inside. And I think that a coping mechanism big on tour is drugs because it's easy.
Everywhere.
You're around people pleasers. Everyone that comes to your show that wants to hang out with you backstage, on your bus, and all that other stuff, a lot of them, you know, if they're not like your friends that you've made over the years, a lot of them are just opportunists. They want to get into a show. Well, I have drugs. So can I get onto the guest list? Cool, I'll bring you guys all drugs. Like, oh, I'm going to bring a ton of like alcohol. Like, I'm sorry, but I think one of the biggest drugs and the worst drugs in the entire world is alcohol. It's legal, and you can purchase it at 21, and I can drown myself in it. And I did. For a long time, I'd be sad and then get back to the van and cry. And what would we do? We'd grab a bottle of something. You know what I mean? And I never developed these addictions, but they were coping mechanisms for me as well. And they didn't make anything better for me. A lot of people that you hear talk about drugs and addiction on tour, surprisingly, are sober, and that's what they have gone through. And it's what they talk about. And the only reason they stay sober is because they continue to sing about it. So, like, there are some bands that people might think, oh, these guys still do drugs. Like, no, they've been sober for 20 years.
That's why they write about
They
it.
have to write about it because, like, for us, you know, I have to write about mental health because I suffer from it. So writing about it, talking about it, that's like a form
way
of
of
therapy.
coping.
Exactly. There's just unhealthy coping mechanisms that are very available to you on tour. It's so scary how available it is. So yeah, it's not for different people. It's hard, but like if you have an addictive personality and you've had addictions, I don't necessarily know if the road is the best place for you. You know, without having this really good structure. You know, I know bands that are now in their 50s and they on tour with them. They have their sober coaches and like their wives because they have to, because they can now.
Yeah.
They've made enough money, but they have to take, you know, like James Hetfield from Metallica, he takes a sober life coach with him, and his wife and kids rotate and come on and out. So Metallica can still be a band, so James Hetfield's not drinking alcohol. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing. Like, we've gone through that. We've done sober tours where, like, hey, y'all, like, a tour manager's called all of the tour managers and been like, hey, so for this tour, the singer of this band just got out of rehab. He's going to go on the tour. He's going to have his sober coach. Will you guys do a sober tour with it? Will you pledge to a sober tour? So, like, I did a tour where all the singers of all 4 bands pledged to do a sober tour with this other singer. And the rest of the bands could do whatever they wanted and stuff, but his band was sober, and then all the singers. And we hung out with him every night, and we go bowling and hang out. He got to the point where he was able to be in the venue bar, not drinking and any of that kind of stuff, not trying to score anything. There's power in rallying around your people. So again, it could be a place of downfall, but it could also be a really good place of uplifting. On Warped Tour, they had yoga. They had AA every single night. They had mental health specialists. So a lot of these tours, depending on the tours, are starting to realize, like, okay, if these guys, they had AA every single day. And a guy that ran it was just a guy that works one of the Warped Tour trucks, but he was a former alcoholic. So he runs these meetings, and these people are able to stay sober and clean and keeping the fellowship. I think it's the biggest thing is taking time to be with the people, like your people. You know what I mean? Like the people that you feel addicts feel comfortable hanging around with addicts and talking about their stories. People with mental health feel comfortable talking about mental health with people that also deal with it. So tour can be a dangerous place, but it can also be an amazing place to get uplifted, for sure.
Yeah.
Here's a quick question.
Mhm.
Since you're a music star, I feel like there's a lot of people saying that since you have money, you can like buy whatever you want, and like
Sure.
you're not supposed to be sad because you can do basically whatever you want.
Right.
And I just want to like see from your point of view, has that been true in like some way, shape, or form?
We in the punk rock world, it's always like I started in DIY, you make no money. Start off in punk rock, metalcore, metal, whatever it is, you don't make money for a really long time. We did start to make a little bit of money at the end, which was nice. But for the most part, I could have made more money working a part-time job at home. I think the thing that people tend to be like, you get to see the world. You go to people. I've been in Paris. People are like, must have been nice. I'm like, I worked hard to get here. You know what I mean?
Damn.
Yeah. There's this weird stigma of well, must be nice, and it's like just because
You could do something doesn't mean
right. Well, just because someone else's fire is burning so well doesn't mean that your fire can't also be lit. Your fire doesn't have to be out because of that. There's no reason to be jealous. There's no reason to be anything. So I think there was definitely a stigma with some of my friends at home when I get home or whatever. I'm like, yo, I'm not tired. I'm like, well, you were on tour, partying. And I'm like, do you understand what I do? I think the reality versus perception of what the industry is way skewed. People think it's there's all these memes on Facebook of what my parents think I do, what my friends think I do, which is partying in the bus, and what I actually do. And it's just a picture of people sitting in a green room on their laptops with headphones in, because all of us have to grind. So everyone in my band owned a business. We all own businesses outside the band. So we get into a green room. We'd all go to the gym and then get into a green room and then just be sitting and running our businesses, talking to each other. And I'm like, you guys want beer? And we're like, and I'm just water's good. I'm just working on my business. Cause you're focused. I think the stigma is that we all party. And I will tell you that I've had some of the most fun times of my life on tour, but I've also had some of the most productive times of my life on tour. I've had some of the most broke times of my life on tour. I've had some of the most bawling times of my life on tour. You know what I mean? It's a ride. You know what I mean? Once you get to a certain level and you do start making money, people start treating you a little bit different, which is why all my friends that are in bigger bands, you start safeguarding yourself a little bit from because once you get big and your reach get big, people they ride your wavelength, and they want to just hold on to the coattails, or they talk about you for no reason. I have friends that are in huge bands, that I have friends that are in smaller bands, and my friends are in smaller bands. How could you ever hang out with that person? I'm like, yo, that person has been here for 10 years supporting me and my band. They've bent over backwards to make things happen for our band, take us on tour for no reason. Just because someone is large and maybe thriving and doing well, the thing is, most of us in this genre of metalcore don't necessarily make a living. When I see a homie buy a house or making a living, I'm like, yes, you're thriving. We need this. We need more success stories out there of the things that we do. The more success stories we have of people in this very niche music market, the more that the kids that listen to this music go, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try to do it, because there is success out there. You know what I mean? So there's a huge stigma when it comes to success, basically, in a band, for sure.
Aside from metal, what do you think one of your favorite music
genres are? It's funny. I was saying earlier before we started, I used to only listen to metal and like hardcore and everything, right? Like that. But then you start growing up a little bit, and there's way more emotions than anger in the world. There's way more emotions than like sadness. There's like vibes for everything, right? So like you're telling me, like people are like, I only listen to metal. I'm like, you're telling me you take your partner out on like a romantic date, and you guys get in the car and you're blasting like Slayer. Like, you're not doing that.
That's the move.
It's not happening. Yo, but by the way, FYI, if you are on a date and then your date gets in the car and they blast Slayer, marry that person like right then and there.
Also, I thought you were gonna say run.
No, marry them, marry them. But the thing is, like, I listen to a lot. I listen to hip hop. I listen to. No, I like. I mean, I love.
TJ6.
I like a lot of the. I don't love a lot of the newer rappers now. But then at the same time, I do. I love
Wait, have you heard of Snot yet or no?
no.
All right, I'm gonna put you.
No, but put me on it too later. But like you said, someone said Juice World earlier. I like Kendrick. I love Kendrick. Denzel Curry.
Frank Ocean.
Love Frank Ocean.
He
Yeah,
makes me
like
cry.
what a beautiful voice. And like so, like I love indie rock. I live in Portland, Oregon, so there's like I can go to a different genre show every single night of my life. I love punk rock. I love indie rock. Literally my favorite artist of all time is Simon and Garfunkel. Well, Paul Simon is my favorite artist of all time, which a lot of people don't know who that is. But they sing that song, "The Sound of Silence." It's like just normally voices and guitars.
The Disturbed cover, that is awesome.
Yes, actually, yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, but yeah, so like my favorite music is like quiet music. There's a band called Explosions in the Sky that are just instrumental, and it's just like it's exactly what it sounds like. It just sounds like the perfect music to listen to when you're watching fireworks with like someone you love. You know what I mean? Music has so many different vibes, and life has so many different vibes, and you just need to match the vibe with your music. If we get in the car and it's raining out, which I live in Portland, so that's like 90% of the time. My wife will like, "What do you want to listen to?" And I'm like, "Match the vibe, bro. Like, see what's going on around you and put that on." So yeah, I listen to a lot of stuff, man, a ton of stuff. I said I mostly don't listen to heavy music anymore. Only like really in the gym. Channel that.
You give
That's
up while
so
listening to somebody screaming in your ears.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, how long have you been in music?
From the first time I played a show, I was 13. From the first time I went on a tour, I was 19. I started touring full time. Well, I started DIY touring when I was like 22. And then I joined Vanna when I was 24. And then I started I thought I was touring full time before. This was full time. And I'm talking about 10 months out of the year, every single year. So think about 10 months being gone. I was only home 2 months of the year scattered throughout that year. In 2016, I think that we were home for like 62 days or something like that. And for 3 years in a row, we did in September to October, we did a full US tour into a Europe tour. One of the years, we drove from our last show overnight to the airport. Our tour manager took the van and we flew to Europe. And then when we flew back, our tour manager picked us up and we started another tour again. So like we're just back and forth. So I've been theoretically touring for more of my life than I haven't been touring. I have something like, I can't even remember, I had to figure it out the other day. I have something like 250,000 transcontinental miles clocked with the tours that I've done. Yeah, a lot. So I've been in it for a really long time and I'm still doing it now. I still tour in my band Trove. I do solo stuff. And I tour to speak in schools as well. So I'm still like on the road constantly. A little less than it was before, which my wife and dog are very happy about.
Gotta make the dog happy.
Got to make the dog happy. Now my dog is starting to come with me she's come on a couple of tours before. She started coming to school, like local schools, and I'm working on getting her papers so I can bring her on a plane and bring her to school. She's like this big. She's a little blonde chihuahua. Her name is Beatrice, and she's the love of my life.
Beatrice, oh.
I'll show y'all pictures later. Her little tongue is always sticking out. She has a viral video online that has 6 million views on it. She's a little
you're
famous dog.
father.
Yeah, I'm a famous dad. I'm a famous dog daddy. You know what I mean? I want my dog to be famous, not me. I want my dog to be famous. So yeah, my family's a lot happier now. But you know what? The whole time I was touring, my wife was my best friend and my cheerleader through the entire process. Like I met her right before I joined Vanna, and she was like, "You better join that band. You better take this opportunity. You need this." My wife's my best friend. She's lovely and smart and everything that I'm not. So shout out to my wife.
If you could go back and do it all over again, like, would you change anything Or do you have like any advice for kids that like want to start a music
Yes,
industry?
yes, and yes. So I always feel like when people say, would you change anything about your journey? You say no, because I'm here now, and this is
Mhm.
where I wanted to be. I wasted a lot of time being afraid to be myself.
Mhm.
I wasted a lot of time in middle school and high school doing that, but I think we all do that, I wasted a lot of time in my adult life not being me. I wasted opportunities in different countries around the world to take a second to connect with somebody because I was too afraid I didn't want to connect with someone, not because I didn't like them, because I didn't want them to know about me. I wasted too much time not being this guy. And so I kind of, not that I regret that, but if I could go back, I would like kick myself in the head and be like, dude, like listen to these people that are coming to your shows, connect with the guys that you're on tour with. I mean, I'm talking about I didn't talk about I became like, once again, the funny guy on tour. So you didn't talk about my life. So I was funny and everyone loved me, and towards a little bit, you can't get like kicked out of a tour or something for being funny. So it's a really good environment for me to thrive that way, which is the problem is I just didn't show anybody myself. I didn't tell my band that I tried to take my own life or had mental health issues until I was in the band for 4 years before I even told them. Sat down to write a record and was like, I got to say something and this is like after I met students and kids from all around the world at shows and was like, I got to talk about this stuff. I got to do it. I told my band and was afraid, and they were super cool, and they were like, I wish you told us when you joined the band about all this. Like we could have focused a little bit more on this for you, for your help, for your sanity. And they're like, were you struggling while we were touring for the past 4 years? I'm like, I was. And it's always better just to tell people. So I regret not being a little bit more open about my mental health issues for sure.
Can I ask you a personal question here?
Oh, this is all
Yes.
personal.
All right, so I don't understand, why someone would try and kill themselves just because I'm more privileged and I have, I think, pretty stable mental health. So why would
Ooh.
why would you try and kill yourself? How would that help you at all? Did you think it was going to help you?
It would end. I thought it would end. It would finally end. I was born.
End your worries or your troubles?
No, end my everything, end my suffering, end my everything. I was born into a family that put me in a drawer and left me for dead. I got taken out of that, put into adoption, got healthy, got adopted, and then when I was 4, my father, who's half the people that adopted me, split from my family, left my family. I dealt with my father's absence, not only emotionally, but financially. My family really struggled. And I'm sure my father was going through a lot of things on his own, which is why he had to dip out and leave. And then when I'm, finally in a good place in high school, and I'm finally feeling like I have a direction in life. It took me a while. I was a class clown. I avoided everybody. No one knew my problems. And I found an outlet through music, and I was able to bring concerts to my school, not drop out, find a direction for me, all this other stuff. And then I had a woman who I dated for years break my heart terribly, smashed my heart to pieces, cheated on me, had a baby with someone else, left me for nothing. After I changed my whole dreams, I altered them to align with hers. And when you are a person that chases the love of people who are supposed to be loving you but don't, when someone loves you voluntarily, you're like, oh my God, I'll give you the whole world. So I'm in this toxic relationship that I don't even realize. And when this all comes out of it, I have no music connections because I'm already out of it. I've already been sucked out of it. I have no drive. I chose to go to a different college that was more expensive, and I couldn't even go to that. It had rolled over a year, so my acceptance wasn't valid. Nothing I had a truck that I was now in debt with and a job I hated, and all of this was to me moving forward to eventually be with my girlfriend. And now this happens. So I'm like, what am I doing in my life? It's not one thing. It's never one thing. People with mental health.
I assumed it was. I assumed that.
It's never one thing. So people with mental health, at least for me, with my anxiety and depression, the crosshairs of that is I keep a tally of all the times in my head that I've failed, all the times that I've been unloved, all the times that, and after a while, the question remains, okay, so my parents left me for dead. Then I was adopted, and one of those parents left me for dead, literally. Then this woman that I love just up and left me. I can't be with this child. It's not mine. My friends are gone because I pushed them away. My parents are upset at me because I've turned into this angry human being. Why am I here? What are you keeping me here for? I don't have a purpose. I have nothing. And at this time, I was 21, 22 years old. And what do I have? I have nothing. My mother doesn't speak to me on the phone because I was an awful son and pushed her away. I have no friends. They're off at college. I'm here and I have nothing to give. So what's the point of being here anymore? And you're right. It doesn't help anything. It's not going to help anything. Suicide does not eliminate your problems. It eliminates the chance for you to ever be happy in your life. I cannot dream of not being alive right now.
So how did you come out of that? Is that due to music, or how did you?
It's all due to music. It's due to music and having a community of people around me that at every turn was like, "Are you good? You okay? What's up? Let's talk." Every show I'd go to, it would be kids being like, "Hey man, that song you wrote about like this situation, did you fail miserably?" And I'm like, "Yeah, here's what happened." He's like, "Dude, I went through the same thing and I listened to that song and it made me realize like I can try again." And I'm like, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it because that's what saved my life. Music and having a community of kids and of other like musicians around me to really lift me up. I would be dead without other people. It would be over. It'd be a wrap. I didn't do this myself.
Yeah.
It was music and other people. The power of conversation, the power of checking in on people that you love, even the power of you don't even know this person, but saying, "Hey, what's up, man? I like your hat, man. I hope you have a good day." You kind of have a pep in your step, you know? There's power in words. There's power in conversation. And that's what saved my life.
That's
Alright,
awesome.
that's cool.
Awesome.
That's good.
Okay, so for our last question,
Yeah.
because we're slowly running out of time. That last one was very dark, so I don't know if I should even ask this one.
No,
But,
ask it. No, because it's good now. I mean,
yeah,
I'm out of
I know,
it.
I'm
I've come
sorry.
out of that, man.
I'm sorry, but what is your favorite type of pie?
Oh, this is perfect. Yeah, this is great. So my wife makes fun of me all the time because I'm like
Key lime.
no. Oh my God, I actually got sick on key lime pie in high school and threw up
My
violently.
favorite.
I
I
worked-
like eat so much key lime.
I had 2 jobs in high school. On the weekends, I worked at a hospital in a cafeteria, and I came in one morning and I was like, Dunkin' Donuts was closed.
That's where I get my key lime.
It was closed, and I was like, ah! So I had to drive into work, and I ran to the cafeteria, and the first thing that was there was key lime pie. And I like put it in my mouth, and I was like, this tastes so weird. And I went downstairs, and I was like, is there anything wrong with this key lime pie? And they're like, did you take it off the front shelf? I'm like, yeah, like I'm restocking that. All that is bad. It's gone bad. And I was like, I started vomiting. So not key lime pie. And I used to love it. I can't even look at it now. I see it jiggle, and I'm like,
You've been traumatized.
yeah. I'm a basic boy. I'm so basic.
Cherry?
Apple.
Apple pie.
Damn.
I love apple pie, vanilla ice cream. You ever had when the heat and the cold mix and it's melt and the cinnamon, and I could eat it like cereal and disgusting. I have to eat it away from my wife because I'm just like slurping it. Yeah, apple pie.
I've
My
got
favorite
one
apple
better
pie.
for you.
I'm a shake on that one.
I've got one better for you.
Yeah.
Bacon weaved on top of an apple pie.
Oh, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Bacon
I've seen it been done.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. So
All right, guys.
Time
Thank you
to
for watching this episode
it
of the
up.
Psychology Club podcast. We'd like to thank Davey for coming out again.
yeah, of course.
You can find all of his socials linked in the description below, and he has a podcast that's going to be released soon. If it's not
soon.
already.
It's called
Soon.
Mental Hell. Well, first
When I
season
want
is
the
coming
cups.
out near Christmas, maybe 2020. Look
All
for
right, again, I'm Dave Chappelle.
it.
All right, see ya.
Bye.